I am now going to talk in favor of prejudice and bigotry. Wait, what? You may say. Isn't prejudice a bad thing? Isn't bigotry an awful thing? And yes, they are bad, even awful sometimes. But they may be the lesser evil. Let's start with prejudice. Prejudice is knowledge that is baseless, based on invalid evidence, or based on insufficient evidence. And it is not so that you're either prejudiced or knowing. It's a sliding scale between more prejudiced beliefs and more accurate beliefs. You can't really stay away from knowing anything until you have the perfect knowledge. You have to let it be a gradual process and accept that you will actually have some ideas along the way that are not accurate. You will have some misconceptions about the thing you are studying. And furthermore, we don't have time to study everything. We must take whatever we hear for granted. Yeah, that's what I heard, so that's the way it is. And I mean, that's the base of prejudice. Yeah, that's the way I heard, so that's the way it is. We just have to realize that we all have prejudice about a lot of things and not be too stuck in our ideas. It's not, yeah, it has to be the way I know it is because that's what I know, so it must be that way. No, we must be ready to rethink. We must be ready for more information. And we can't do that if we believe that, yeah, we cannot be prejudiced. Because if we make an identity out of not being prejudiced, then we will have a hard time facing our prejudice. In reality, we have a lot of prejudice and we should accept ourselves the way we are. We just have to work on it over time. Decrease the prejudice. We will never be free from prejudice, but we can decrease it. Bigotry, however, it would be very nice if we could be entirely free from bigotry, if we don't go around having these hateful attitudes where we look down on each other and sneers and hate and all that kind of stuff. And we shouldn't hate each other because we don't have to. Or do we have to? Do we have to have those kinds of attitudes? And my answer is that normally no, but there are exceptions. Sometimes some people actually need to hate and need to have this baseless sense of superiority. And we have to think about why they have this need and fulfill that need in some other more productive way. In my experience, the most common reason for bigotry is that people feel insecure about themselves, have a need for a scapegoat, someone to look down on, and this is not something that should be encouraged. We should be against bigotry in all forms. And I'm not saying that we should accept bigotry. We should accept bigoted people and encourage them to develop a better worldview rather than reinforce the insecurity and self-loathing they actually already have deep down. But bigotry is not always caused in this particular way. It's not always directed at merely some convenient target. Sometimes bigotry actually has a justified cause. If you, as an individual or a group, is oppressed by another individual or group, it's far preferable if you can rise above it, if you can be the greater person and don't hate them for their bullshit. But what if you don't have that option? What if your only options are to either look down on your oppressors or look down on yourself? Both options sucks. And I think that bigotry might be the lesser evil here. It's very destructive to get stuck in this bigotry. We should still encourage people to develop a better, more nuanced worldview, but maybe we shouldn't just dismiss the bigotry itself outright. I'm not going to take a real world example because they are all very controversial. I'm going to take a very good fictional example. There's a movie I strongly recommend. It's called Never Let Me Go. This movie is about two girls and one boy growing up together, having this complicated love triangle, trying to sort out their emotions, all with the background of the little fact that the government has decided that they don't have any human rights, they don't have any human value. They have decided on the technicality that these people are not real people, so we shouldn't treat them as human, we should simply harvest their organs so that real people can live longer at their expense. These three people are brought up in this system, and this is a major spoiler. If you want to see the movie but be surprised, then you should stop listening now. 1, 2, 3. Well, the thing is this, they never snap out of it. They live through their short lives never even questioning the fact that they are worthless. And they hate themselves for it. They have this internalized categorism. You might have heard about internalized homophobia. Well, the same phenomenon exists no matter what category of people is subjected to categorism. In this case, they have internalized the categories against their kind of so-called not real people. And I longed for one of the main characters to become a crazy bigot, just snap into some "Jesus loves me, not you," something like that. Just become a religious fundamentalist or an ideological crackpot or whatever you need to snap out of it, scratch your way out of that deep pit you're in. Once you reach the surface, then you can start taking normal breath and start thinking rationally about things, landing in the obvious position that we are equals. We are all valid humans. But when you are in a position that you are not yet able to think like that, it's better to hate them and fight the good fight in a bad way than it is to just accept the horrors as they are and believe that you don't deserve any better. The perhaps most important thing about accepting a bit of bigotry is that it allows us to accept that the bigotry is, in fact, bigotry. When a person is a victim of individual bullies, or of oppressive social structures, we don't like to call this person a bigot. It's adding insult to injury. And because of this, many people make these elaborate excuses for why bigotry isn't bigotry if the bigot has problems, is oppressed, whatever. But yes, bigotry is still bigotry and it is still a bad thing. Instead of condemning the bigot, we need to help each other to rise above it, to reach to a point where the hatred is no longer needed.